Merci beaucoup, Greg, d'être présent pour ce webinaire. C'était vraiment un plaisir de prendre le temps avec nous, de parler à nos membres. Alors, pour ceux qui ne te connaissent pas, Greg, peut-être une petite introduction, rapidement.
Ouais, bonjour, mon nom c'est Greg Benadiba, je suis président de l'agence Source Bilingue ici à Toronto. On est une agence qui est spécialisée dans le recrutement bilingue dans la région de Toronto ainsi que maintenant la région de Montréal ainsi que Ottawa. On se concentre strictement sur des postes bilingues et c'est pour cela qu'on a une très belle relation avec l'association CMBPA.
Très bien, Greg. Et pour ceux qui ne me connaissent pas aussi, je suis Yuri le fondateur de l'Association canado-mauricienne des Mauriciens professionnels. Et on est basé ici à Toronto, mais on a plusieurs membres en Ontario. Et c'est un plaisir de se parler avec Greg. Comme agenda aujourd'hui, on a plusieurs questions. Alors, ce sera une discussion avec toi, peut-être pour qu'on ait un peu plus le partenariat, votre stratégie, un peu sur le marché bilingue en Ontario et peut-être pour nos personnes qui nous écoutent, que ce soit au Canada et même à Maurice, peut-être apprendre un peu plus sur le marché bilingue en Ontario et au Canada. Alors, pour commencer, premièrement, ben, merci parce que c'est pas la première fois qu'on se parle. Pour ceux qui ne connaissent pas, Source Bilingue est un partenaire stratégique pour la station CMBPA qui a débuté au début d'année. Alors, peut-être la première question, Greg, qu'est-ce qui a été le motivateur pour toi d'entrer en partenariat avec nous, la CMBPA?
Ben, écoute, s'associer avec votre association en tant qu'agence de recrutement bilingue français-anglais nous offre tous les deux, ainsi que tes membres et nos clients, plusieurs avantages. Premièrement, je dirais que ça nous donne accès à un bassin de talents diversifiés. Votre association a un réseau de professionnels bilingues d'origine mauricienne qui nous a déjà offert et qui va continuer à nous offrir un bassin de talents unique, de compétences linguistiques, ainsi que de diversité culturelle. Et c'est quelque chose qui est très important. On a fait affaire avec plusieurs gens de l'île Maurice auparavant. Il y a plusieurs individus que nous avons placés. Et comme je vous ai déjà dit, Yuri, on a eu énormément de succès. Euh, je pense qu'aussi notre collaboration pourrait nous obtenir des informations sur le marché, donner aux professionnels mauriciens bilingues des informations sur le marché du Canada, spécialement s'ils sont en train de faire leurs recherches de l'île en venant au Canada ou ils sont déjà nouveaux arrivants. Je pense que nous, on a plusieurs données, on a plusieurs accès à des informations qui pourraient aider votre réseau. Renforcer la compétence culturelle, c'est très important pour nous d'avoir une bonne compréhension de la culture mauricienne, aussi d'avoir une belle capacité à communiquer efficacement avec votre communauté, c'est très important pour nous. Euh, Élargir notre réseau et élargir votre réseau aussi. Donc, c'est une chose qu'on fait ensemble. On a une crédibilité énorme ici au Canada. On est très bien connu parmi les entreprises canadiennes. Et donc, ce que ça peut offrir à vos membres, c'est une bonne introduction, une entrée pour des carrières qu'ils probablement n'auraient pas accès normalement. Donc, ce sont des portes que nous pouvons ouvrir pour vos membres. Euh, Spécialement, on a plusieurs postes et donc trouver des carrières pour des gens de l'île Maurice, c'est quelque chose que nous faisons routinement. Et comme j'ai dit déjà, c'est favoriser la diversité et l'inclusion. Donc, vraiment avoir une connaissance de la diversité des Mauriciens ainsi que leurs atouts, puisqu'il y a plusieurs différents atouts et différents types de personnes et de candidats qui viennent de votre île. C'est un grand avantage qui pourrait nous aider à tous.
Absolument. Et quand tu parles de la diversité culturelle, l'île Maurice, est un pays très diversifié. Et oui, c'est pas un ou deux Mauriciens que vous avez placés, on parle de plus que 1000 Mauriciens. Et et nous sommes vraiment reconnaissants parce que Source Bilingue n'est pas seulement une agence, mais votre stratégie, c'est vraiment de placer et de comprendre la culture. C'est vraiment ça qui vous démarque. Et avec nous, la CMBPA, c'est quelque chose de très, très important qu'on veut faire. C'est comment faire la stratégie culturelle, comment comprendre aux nouveaux arrivants, aux professionnels, parce que ce qu'on voit en ce moment, Greg, c'est une croissance d'immigrants professionnels qui vient. Et depuis le début de l'année, vous avez déjà contribué à nos activités. Et peut-être la question est pour nos auditeurs, comment la source bilingue contribue et va contribuer aux activités, que ce soit au networking, au réseautage, comment vous allez contribuer aux activités de la CMBPA que vous avez déjà fait auparavant.
Ouais, et on va continuer à faire, Yuri. C'est une association entre nous qu'on aime beaucoup et on va continuer à développer. Bon, il y a plusieurs façons qu'on pourrait contribuer aux activités ainsi qu'aux événements du CMBPA. Premièrement, c'est fournir des talents bilingues. Euh, je sais que nous, on peut recruter des professionnels euh, pour vous aider en soutenant des événements. On a un réseau très, très grand. Je sais que vous avez déjà un très grand réseau aussi, mais si vous avez besoin d'aide pour la programmation, de l'aide pour les événements, on peut être là pour vous. Euh, on offre aussi les services linguistiques, hein, donc faire euh, des speeches, être là, parler et être présent. Euh, c'est ça ce qu'on pourrait faire pour vous. Participation, bien sûr, aux événements. Moi, j'aimerais être là pour tous vos événements et pouvoir enrichir l'expérience des participants avec notre présence et pouvoir parler et expliquer la différence culturelle, et spécialement pour les nouveaux arrivants qui ne connaissent pas le Canada tellement bien, pouvoir expliquer un peu les différences entre l'île Maurice ainsi que le Canada pour qu'ils puissent bien s'intégrer. Mais je pense que la chose que nous, on peut faire et on a déjà fait avec des gens et des participants de votre association, c'est vraiment le mentorat. Donc, en étant partenaire avec vous, la source bilingue peut aider le CMBPA à faciliter des programmes de mentorat en mettant des relations professionnelles bilingues avec des candidats mauriciens aspirants et leur aidant à développer leur carrière ainsi que leurs connaissances. Et on l'a déjà fait. Donc, il y a plusieurs individus qu'on a rencontrés à vos événements et on a déjà pris le temps de faire ce mentorat-là sur un Zoom ou un MS Teams comme on fait maintenant et regarder à ce que l'individu a en tant qu'atout, en tant que leur CV et pouvoir les aider à modifier le CV
Mhm.
pour qu'il soit un peu plus canadien, disons,
Mhm.
ainsi que leur profil LinkedIn. Et ensuite, on peut leur montrer plusieurs autres choses en tant que carrière et développement de carrière, ainsi que comment répondre des questions d'entrevue. Donc, c'est ça ce on est déjà en train de faire quand on engage avec des candidats que vous nous trouvez, vous nous vous faites l'introduction. Euh, je pense qu'une autre chose qu'on pourrait faire, c'est promouvoir les opportunités d'emploi. Donc, mon équipe ici à la Source Bilingue, euh, est toujours à la recherche d'emplois bilingues. Et donc, on a des agents de vente qui sont en train de trouver des postes à chaque jour. Et donc, on a toujours des annonces qui sont sur notre site web qui pourraient peut-être donner de la valeur à vos membres. Donc, pouvoir transmettre ces informations-là entre nous, c'est très important. Euh, et voilà, c'est ça ce que je dirais. Donc, on pourrait vous aider en plusieurs différentes façons.
Et vraiment, merci beaucoup parce que depuis le début du partenariat, on a eu de bonnes reconnaissances, des bons feedbacks sur la qualité des appels, mais aussi l'accompagnement. C'est très important. Pas seulement c'est un appel, mais c'est un accompagnement que vous offrez. Et pour les personnes qui ne savent pas qui est source bilingue, est-ce que tu peux peut-être leur partager c'est quoi la proposition de valeur, qu'est-ce qui vous rend vraiment unique en termes d'agence bilingue en Ontario? Parce qu'on pense qu'on connaît bien, il y a d'autres agences, mais pourquoi, qu'est-ce qui vous rend vraiment unique dans la communauté d'agences bilingues?
Ouais,
Euh,
on est l'agence la plus grande, la plus réputée, l'agence qui a le plus de succès, donc vraiment numéro un dans le marché. Et ce que ça amène aux personnes mauriciennes ainsi que vos membres, c'est vraiment le réseau. Donc, on a accès à plus de postes que n'importe quelle autre agence dans la région de Toronto spécifiquement, mais dans l'Ontario. Euh, Vraiment, ça, c'est notre approche qui est très différente. Les autres agences font leur travail, mais nous, on prend un peu plus de temps à vraiment comprendre la personne, ce qu'il recherche. Et ensuite, on essaie de les placer très précisément. Et on trouve vraiment des carrières. Donc, les autres agences peut-être trouvent des postes, trouvent des emplois
mhm,
bilingues pour les gens. Mais nous, ce qu'on essaie de faire, c'est un peu différent. On essaie de trouver une carrière. Donc, quelque chose qui va être long terme, qui va mener la personne à du succès
mhm,
professionnel, ainsi que financièrement. Ça coûte
absolument,
très cher être dans une ville comme Toronto. Et donc, avoir une carrière qui a beaucoup de succès, ça a beaucoup d'impact pour l'individu. Et nos clients, ils aiment ça aussi parce que quand nous, on trouve des personnes pour nos clients, ces clients-là, ils ont des personnes avec leurs entreprises pendant des années
absolument,
et non quelques mois.
absolument.
Et
Et,
voilà, ça, c'est la différence.
quelle est normalement la réputation des Mauriciens au Canada en termes d'emploi? Je sais que tu as votre agence a employé pas mal de Mauriciens. Quel est le feedback et la réputation que les Mauriciens ont en travaillant?
Très bonne question. Euh, Écoute, les gens de l'île Maurice, je te l'ai déjà dit, toi et moi, mais je vais le dire publiquement, ce sont des personnes qui travaillent très fort, extrêmement chaleureux. C'est des personnes qui ont vraiment du cœur. C'est des personnes incroyables, vraiment. J'ai même des équipiers dans mon équipe qui viennent de l'île Maurice. Euh, Comme j'ai dit, chaleureux, très aimables. Très qualifiés aussi, hein. Ce sont des personnes intelligentes qui viennent avec des degrés universitaires, de l'expérience de l'île Maurice, euh, dans tous les sortes de secteurs. J'ai vu des gens dans le secteur bancaire, dans le secteur de voyage, dans le secteur de produits. Donc, il y a énormément d'entreprises, comme vous le savez déjà, dans l'île Maurice, et ils viennent au Canada avec ces expériences-là. Et je dirais que l'avantage, bien sûr, c'est à cause du fait qu'ils parlent le français.
Mhm.
À cause qu'ils sont parfaitement bilingues et aussi leur anglais est parfait, hein. C'est pas comme s'ils arrivent seulement
Yeah,
en tant que
j'allais dire ça.
francophones.
Voilà.
Their English is
Ouais.
perfect as well for the
Yeah,
most part.
yeah.
Et donc, ils arrivent ici au Canada, spécifiquement Toronto, et ça nous offre la possibilité de leur trouver une très belle carrière euh, qui ne serait pas nécessairement ouverte aux nouveaux arrivants qui ne sont pas bilingues.
Mhm.
Donc, les nouveaux arrivants qui arrivent d'autres pays n'ont pas les opportunités que les arrivants bilingues ont. Mais vraiment, les gens de l'île Maurice, écoutez, ils ont une très belle réputation. On fait affaire avec plusieurs entreprises qui ont embauché des Mauriciens de nous et le feedback de ces entreprises sont incroyables. Écoute, même cette semaine, j'ai eu une entreprise qui m'est revenue. Il y avait une dame mauricienne qu'on avait placée dans un contrat. Euh, Malheureusement, elle a trouvé quelque chose de permanent, qui est bien pour elle, mais malheureux pour l'employeur.
Mhm.
Et l'employeur m'a dit, écoute, je ne sais pas comment vous allez trouver une autre personne comme elle. Et
Wow.
je lui ai dit à l'employeur, j'ai dit, écoute, madame, la prochaine fois que vous avez un superstar, une personne comme ça, il va falloir que tu lui offres un poste permanent, parce que c'est ça ce
Ouais,
qu'elle voulait. Elle
ouais,
voulait un poste à temps plein permanent. Donc, la réputation des gens de l'Imeris ici au Canada, c'est vraiment incroyable. Donc,
ouais.
ça nous fait très grand plaisir de faire partie et de les aider quand ils arrivent.
Absolument. Et merci beaucoup de partager. En tant que Mauricien, je pense que, et en tant que les personnes qui nous écoutent, je pense qu'ils vont vraiment apprécier ces commentaires parce que ça leur donne, ça leur motive pour dire qu'il y a un avenir ici. Il y a des personnes comme eux qui ont la même expérience d'avoir du succès. Et je pense que c'est parfaitement le moment maintenant pour transitionner. Tu as parlé de, en étant bilingue, notre éducation, je pense, est aussi en anglais. So I'm going to switch a bit to English here because one of the things that make us truly unique here is our ability to be bilingual. A lot of students, business professional, only understand the impact of being bilingual when they leave Mauritius because we had an education in English. We speak French at home, sometimes in the office. So they are eager to know because you've spent a lot of time here, Greg, in that job market. What are the efforts you're seeing in government, whether it's federally, provincially, to promote bilingual jobs, whether it's in Ontario, in Canada? What is the situation right now for those bilingual people listening to us and eager to join the job market right now?
Well, first of all, the federal government in Canada has passed a bunch of bills. Okay, so first one is Bill C-13. They basically created an equality of Canada's official languages. It's basically an amendment to the Official Languages Act, and they basically have said that they've got to promote, the companies as well as the government need to promote French, French language education, creating advancement opportunities for the French language. They've also empowered the official language commissioner to impose financial penalties on any federal institutions that violate these language rights. They want to protect the language. Okay, I know that in Quebec, the Quebec government passed Bill 96, which builds on the Charter of French Language. So there are laws and regulations around companies having to have many different things, including internal documentation, as well as postings, both in French and in English, in both official languages. So needless to say, the government has understood that they have to do what it takes to protect and promote the French language in Canada, because unfortunately they have seen a decline in the French language.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean, though, that the need for the French language has changed. The need for the French language is very much still present. And the advantage to a person coming in from Mauritius, I mean, they may not know this. There's a huge need for bilingualism here. Huge. When you're coming in from an island like Mauritius or, even other countries that speak French, you're coming in with an automatic advantage. Now, I'm not going to say that it's easy to land your
Mm-hmm.
dream job right off the
Mm-hmm.
bat. I mean, let's be real. It's going to take some time to get to where you want to be. For some, it even takes a little bit of time to get back to where they once were. And that's okay.
Right.
But it should be known that you do have an upper hand, especially in a province like Ontario, and specifically the Greater Toronto Area. You have a huge advantage when you speak French. I mean, my company, what we do all day long is look for people that speak French and English for the clients that are having trouble finding this kind of talent. Now, again, within that, there are different other things that they look for. They're not simply looking for French and English. They're looking for a variety of different skill sets. Maybe it might be supply chain, it might be accounting, it might be financial services, it might be languages themselves, translation. I mean, there's a variety of different ways that the French language is used. But it is a huge advantage, and I think it's important that, I mean, if I were leaving Mauritius today, obviously I would do a great deal of research to find out where my skills could be transferable. But it's good to know that the overarching government is making a lot of effort to ensure that the French language is continued to be used in Canada.
Absolutely. And we have seen that in many ways, shape, or form, even in the Express entry, where we are not adding the French language as an additional skill set to increase your number of points. So I think you mentioned something very important here is the responsibility of Mauritian to find and identify the gap in the market. Based on your experience and looking at the job market, what are some ways people can, from Mauritius, before traveling, start to get to know the job market? Do you offer services? What do you recommend people in terms of research? And because they're going to face a challenge. A lot of time when I speak to people, Greg, it's like, well, here's my resume. The traditional hiring process is not what it is in Canada. So what are the ways you suggest people to get ahead of a curve before they come to Mauritius? Come to Canada, sorry.
Before they come to Canada, yeah, for sure. And so, there's an old saying, the tide raises all boats. And what I mean by that is you want to look at which sectors are currently on the rise.
Okay.
So, let's just say I was a translator today in Mauritius. With the advent of technology and GPT and all of the things that we've seen, we're not seeing as many translation positions as we once did. So that tide is kind of going away. What do you do in that case? Well, you have to pivot. You have to look at your skill sets and think to yourself, out of all of the industries that are currently on the rise in Canada, where can, say, if I was a translator, my translation background be of use? Okay. Let's just say, and we do see a lot of people from Mauritius that come out of hospitality, because I mean, you guys have a huge hospitality industry, right?
Right.
So if I'm a hotel manager on the island and I'm looking to move to Canada, am I going to be a hotel manager in Canada? Do I want to continue down that path? Or am I going to now take my set of skills and pivot, just like I said, become something else? And if I am going to become something else, the question that I need to ask myself is, which sectors are on the rise? Because when you go into a sector that is on the rise, like right now, I'll give you a little snippet. Software. The software sector is on the rise in Canada. Okay. There are positions. So because they're on the rise, this is a sector that may make more concessions, meaning they may not look for direct experience. They may look at indirect character or qualities that a person might possess and then approve them for hire. Because they have such a big need for talent, they're going to make some concessions and they're going to be more willing to look at a outside the box profile, right?
Okay. Right.
So I think this is it's a very difficult topic, and this is not an easy thing. And I can only imagine, like, it takes a lot of self-discovery too, thinking, what am I going to do? What would I like to do? What's going to be the career that I'm going to choose when I arrive? So I think it's very much a personal thing. Like, I mean, we do consultations with people.
Okay.
And, we speak to them, and, I get on the line, and some of the questions that I ask are very simple. Do you know what you want to do? What are you good at? What are some of the skills that you possess that you think are worthy of being paid for, that a marketplace would actually be willing to pay you for? And usually within those answers, I'm able to identify some kind of common themes and be able to ascertain where the person might be suitable. So yes, it does take research. It takes a lot of introspection. So looking within yourself to see what it is that you are good at, almost kind of like doing a skills assessment,
Right.
Taking time to jot down, say on the left of a sheet, all of the skills that you possess. And then on the right of the sheet, taking a look at all the skills that you lack and seeing which jobs could utilize the skills that you possess and maybe complement you on some of the things that you lack, maybe educate you in those areas so that you can improve as a person, right? So it's a complex question, but there are many different ways that this can be done. But it takes work. It takes a lot of work. No question
Right.
about it.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. It's important because this question comes often when I speak to new Mauritian or new Mauritian immigrant coming, because the first question they ask is, where do I start? And I think it starts with yourself asking these questions. And I'm glad that we're able to record it, because people that are thinking of coming, it's important for them to know the reality of the job market here. Yes, we are great at being bilingual, but where are my skills transferable? And I think you hit on this point, saying being open, being true to yourself, and being ready to compromise at some point. You talk about sectors. I don't want to delve too much into it, but I think some of our subscribers, members are eager to hear about Bilingual Source. Are there particular sectors that you're specialized? What sectors are you seeing in demand in the Greater Toronto area? What intel do you have for us in that
Yeah,
capacity?
that's a very good question. Actually, you know, I think one of the things that we are constantly on the lookout for is great supply chain individuals. So I'll explain why. So anybody that's coming out of supply chain, so a product-based organization, somebody that's dealt with a tangible physical product, right? Those people are very much in need, because we are always looking for what we call a customer service rep, but it's really an order management specialist. So these are people that speak to clients, that place orders for product. They usually use like ERPs like SAP or JD Edwards or AS400, and they input the orders, they track shipments, they make sure that there's stock, that there's inventory. So that's one area that we're constantly on the lookout for. So if anybody from Mauritius is looking to come here and has any sort of supply chain in their background, they would be pretty much a sure placement. The other sectors that are always on the lookout, especially here in Toronto, are the financial services sector as well as the insurance sectors. The main kinds of positions that we get are usually going to be customer service, so the entry-level roles, or administration, so some sort of back office role or something of that nature. And, you know, I know especially for somebody maybe that has 5-10 years of experience coming back or coming into a new city and starting from the bottom might be difficult at first. But, you know, what I would say is this, you know, you're moving to a new country. You're going to have to get a fresh start. And when you start at the beginning, because I mean, I started at the beginning in customer service in call centers. So I lived this life and I understand it very well. It's a beautiful thing because you can start at the bottom, and especially with the skill sets, you'll be able to navigate your way within a corporation relatively quickly. So the average time frame to getting promoted when you're in a Canadian company is anywhere between 12 to 24 months. So a year and a half, maybe 2 years, depending on the company. You can then start to apply internally for a promotion, and you can move your way up fast. Like, I mean, it's happened for some people very quickly. I had one person that got promoted after 3 months, just because the opportunity presented itself. So they got lucky. But the average, I would say, is about 12 months to 18 months, give or take. And the person can move up, and then they can slowly but surely get their way back to where they once were, but now within a new economy, a new country. And by the way, there's another advantage to doing that. When you start in customer service, what better way to learn a culture than to speak to people from Canada that are calling in every single day? I mean, you get quite an education that way, you know, on how the Canadians think, how business is conducted here, how they operate, and especially in your first year in a country. I think that's a beautiful thing, really getting to talk to Canadians, really see how they function, so that when you do grow, you now have that foundational knowledge as to the differences between the Mauritian and the Canadian culture.
I completely agree. I was about to add to that point, right? And thank you for mentioning that, because I think we both relate. I think sometimes I even miss my customer service because, you know, and I don't want to say we start from the bottom, but we start from the center, and that's a big difference because we are the closest one to the client. And the client is what the closest to their business, what makes business grow. And I think you hit on the dot here, understanding the culture. And I think I tell everyone, even if you have a full-time job, go be a server, get close to the culture, get close to the people. And there's no other jobs than being close to the customer that would teach you about, the Canadian, way of living, ethics, the culture, the words they use. And those are unspoken rules of hiring that you cannot teach. You have to experience. So I think you hit a very good point for those people that say, you know what, I don't want to stop at the bottom. But what I say usually is everyone started, and everyone is. I mean, you talk about luck, but you got to create your luck. You got to be there, right?
100%. I love what you just said, and I'm going to steal that one, Yuri. You're not at the bottom, you're at the center.
Right.
It's beautifully said, and it's very, very accurate. The closer you can get to the customer, for me, customer service is the foundation to everything. When you're a customer service rep, you can start to see the problems that are happening, maybe because of a procedural issue, because of a sales issue, because of other problems that are happening within the company. So now when you move up, you can actually say, hold on, I know the impact to the customer of this policy or this procedure or this decision that we're making. And you can make more sound decisions rather than just kind of winging it, so to speak. So I think it's a huge advantage. You're in your first 12 months in the country. Like, if I was to go to Mauritius today,
Right.
okay, I'd probably go work at a hotel. Front lines, speak to people, get to know them, or I'd work as a customer service rep in a call center specifically catered to Mauritians, maybe like a telecom company or something like that, so that I could really understand the culture. I mean, once you understand the culture, you know the people, you know what they're like, you understand the differences, the nuances. Now you've got a baseline foundation from which you can truly grow. So I know it's hard sometimes, but looking at it as a step back is the wrong way. The way that they should really be looking at it is a year of education.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think education is peace. Education is what would them prepare them better. I think, as a way to transition in our conclusion is where to get connected to. We talk about how we have a partnership, the benefits of a partnership, the efforts of a government, the challenges. How do people that listen to us get in touch? Obviously, we'll talk about our membership later, but if people want to be connected with Bilingual Source, even from Mauritius or from Canada, what do they do, Greg?
Well, obviously, the best place to connect with me personally would be right on LinkedIn. So search Greg Benadiba, president of Bilingual Source. Of course, you can go onto our website, bilingualsource.com, and we have links to the CMBPA. And of course, the CMBPA also has links to Bilingual Source on their website. So heading over to the CMBPA's website can certainly help there, and we can connect. And I mean, here we have 15 great skilled recruiters that all know what they're doing, and they can certainly help people that are serious about coming to Canada. The one thing that I'll mention, and I think it's important to note, the employers that we work with, they want to know that the person already has a commitment date as to when they're going to be moving to Canada. So one thing that we don't want is for people to interview and then maybe change their mind, or something's happened and they can't come, or they need to change the date. So what we're really looking for is a firm date as to when they're going to be arriving, and then we can do a free career consultation where we can sit down, ask some of the questions that you and I spoke about today to better understand what the person would be good for and what kind of matches we have for that individual. That being said, of course, our agency is one area, but there are other sectors that will be impacted by all these language laws and how the federal government is changing things. So there are some people that are public service people, so government employees. We don't traditionally work with the government. We usually work with private corporations. and
Okay.
public corporations. But the federal public service, meaning the federal corporations, they have a huge need for bilingual talent. So if there's anybody that wants to come to Canada and wants to be in the government, that's something that they can do. Now, I will caution them that, of course, the government does take a long time to get into,
Correct.
anywhere between 3 to 6 months usually. So, make sure that you've timed things accordingly. Um, there's a lot of public sector companies in Ontario, in Quebec, in New Brunswick that also have a need for great talent, as well as Ontario. Um, but I would say that really, if you're going to be looking for a good career, come to Bilingual Source. We'll help you out, and of course, from there we'll be able to relay the information back to you, Yuri, to let you know who we've been able to help, so that we can keep a little bit of data on this.
Thank you. And I think for people who are listening to us, I think it's a great place to start. It's the best place to start to talk to Bilingual Source. But like Greg mentioned, we have mentors. We have a network of people already at the CMBPA. Not only people like yourself looking for a job, people like myself who want to give back to the community that have worked in various sectors. So I think it's key to start by talking, asking, and looking for people in your sector. And I think Bilingual Source is a great place to start to identify your need. But we hold monthly networking session. We had one about finance. We're going to have a new one right now about entrepreneurship. And I'm seeing a growing need of public sector. So, watch your space. Definitely we'll have one on how to get jobs in public sector. And definitely it's a more interesting process, a longer process, but one worth doing and one worth doing the work. So, watch out for more webinars. So, Greg, le mot de la fin. I know we've been chatting for great information. We can speak all day. I'm sure we have other sessions together. Maybe a word, of encouragement. People that are leaving their family, people that are here who are still struggling. Maybe a last word, but you want to share with them, just to encourage them.
Yeah. Change is hard. If it was easy, everybody would do it. So it takes a person of perseverance to make changes, and I respect that very much. It also takes a great deal of resilience and perseverance. Okay. There are going to be highs and there are going to be lows. The main thing is to not give up on your vision of a better future for you and your family. Stay focused, get the help, don't get discouraged, and you will succeed.
Thank you so much, Greg. That was words of wisdom, but I will take personally as well for myself. It's something always good to hear about. So on behalf of the CMBPA, we really enjoy the time you took out of your day to speak with us. Thank you very much for taking the time today.
And thank you, Yuri, for your continued partnership, and I look forward to seeing you at the next event.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Greg.
Thanks, Yuri.